welcomes you, and this is a great occasion for us to honor somebody that had a great influence on a huge part of our organization. And the neat thing about it is, I'm going to say it, we're doing it right this time because he's still alive and he can enjoy it. Seriously, on behalf of the director and myself, we welcome you. This is the dedication to rename this building in honor of Max Newberry. At this time, it is my privilege and honor to introduce Mr. Justin Jones, and he is the director of the Oklahoma Department of Corrections.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody being here today, and maybe with this size of an audience, Max might find some humility about himself. But when I first became director and Max called me, I thought he was looking for a job. But he called, he says, you know, Director, I've known you for a lot of years. I gave you some bargains on OCI furniture. I didn't mark up the prices too high. There's something you could do for me. And I said, Max, what is it? He says, would you name something after me? And I'm joking, of course. We'll talk about how this came about here in just a second. But we're going to pass the hat here in just a little bit because Max had told me, he leaned over and said, if I knew there were going to be this many people here, we should have charged. And then I looked at what he was wearing today. And how many have known Max for at least 20 years? Okay. Have you ever seen Max in anything that matched? My recollection, I've been with the agency 30 years, and he was here when I got here. And my first encounter with him were plaid pants, socks below the ankles, a green jacket, and an orange shirt. So we're going to take up donations here shortly so we can get him back in fashion. But in all honesty, it's quite unusual for corrections, not because he's not deceased yet, Ken, but we've never done this before, and Max really is an icon. Now, for those of you that love the rainy weather, unless I'm mistaken, you're also a meteorologist, is that correct? Tried to. And so we can blame Max for that also. That being said, we're going to have a dedication today, but because the audience is so large, if you'll notice the photograph behind us, we're actually going to rename this building Max Newberry Capital. But I would like to say, and to sincere appreciations to Senator Nichols, who had called me and said he knew Max, knew the family, and had heard many great things about him, and I certainly echoed those, and I wasn't joking when I talked about being an icon. Max certainly was, and nobody can even remember who was here before Max with OCI unless you read our history books. And Max's name is still tossed about in good appreciation for all the innovation and all the things that he brought with us, having been an engineer in a previous life, etc., and coming to us in this regard. So that being said, it's certainly humbling me and certainly an honor to come here before Max today and have a little fun with him and to hear what he's got to say. But it's certainly an honor looking at the size of this audience. If I may, Mr. Twinger, I'd like to invite one person up to the podium who has probably known Max longer than anybody in corrections, and that's the ex-director of corrections from a few years ago, Larry Fields. Larry, would you mind coming
Sure,
here? Thank you.
Thank you, Director, Senator, honored guest, and it's a pleasure to be here today. Best title in the world is ex-director, so let me share that with you. You've got that to look forward to one day. You know, I started in the department in early 1975. I noticed on the program that Max started with us in 1976. So really, until I'd worked my way up into a position of being a warden, all I got to hear was the name Max Newberry. You never really got an opportunity to meet him until you became a warden. And then you got to meet him because he wanted to make sure that his industry programs were being operated correctly by the current administrative staff or the warden staff. And he wanted to let you know, because you were a warden and his favor, Gordon, that he was going to give you special pricing. And he always did give you special pricing, the very top price that he could possibly give. Because he got access to all your budgets, and so he knew exactly what you had left over at the end of the year when it came time to make purchases. And by golly, he got every red cent of it. And Director Jones is correct. I remember what a fashion plate Max Newberry was. We really considered him properly dressed if the stripes just all ran the same. But truthfully, Max Newberry made Oklahoma corrections what it is today throughout the United States, and especially the state industry program. You can't travel anywhere, and I'm working with several different state industry programs across the United States, but you don't go to those and not mention the name of Max Newberry, and they have known him. They know him as an icon, they know him as an innovator, they knew that he hired the very best staff possible and developed those staff into just kind of world-renowned employees for state industry. And on top of all of that, he produced a great product. I think what he really got started in state industry was we're going to develop quality. We're not looking to sell everything that we build all the time unless we can get the right price for it, but we're going to build quality, and that's certainly what he did with each and every item. And then he came up with so many different innovative ideas about products to build and directions to start. And I recall one of my favorite times in visiting with Max was I was the newly appointed warden at Naval Bassett. We had gotten a phone call about the possibility of starting a reservation center for a large hotel chain, so inmates were going to be taking the reservation. And I went to Max, all excited about this prospect of starting this innovative idea. And Max, if you ever know, he kind of looked down through his glasses at you and just kind of stand, shuffle his feet just kind of a little bit, and looked at me and said, "Well, Warden, bring me that contract and I'll sign it." And that's all. You brought it to him, he got it taken care of, and he actually did establish a wonderful reservation center and a maximum security female unit that started a trend throughout the United States. And that's just one of the innovations that I remember. So, Senator, you should be commended for recommending Max Newberry. The next challenge will be for the Senator of our good agriculture director back there. I said, "What are they going to do now, Dick? What are they going to name after you?" And he said, "Well, the director already has a mule." Max Newberry, congratulations.
Again, let me introduce Senator Jonathan Nichols to you, who was the mover and the shaker and the idea person behind this. And without the good senator, we wouldn't be here today. So, Senator?
I'm one of the fortunate speakers. I actually have a script I get to read from. I'm going to read the resolution. And before I read the resolution, what you are going to hear that was put in this resolution, these are not my words. These are words that were gathered from people who knew Max Newberry while he was employed with the corrections industry. And I think they speak highly of him. And also, I'd like to highlight the fact that this was a joint resolution. This was not a resolution by one chamber or a recommendation. This was a resolution that was authored, brought up before the full Senate, and voted on, a recorded machine vote, and went over to the House, and the same occurred, and of course it passed unanimously in both chambers, and it was signed by the governor. It has the full force and effect of law, if you will. And I think what's remarkable about that is for the legacy of Max Newberry, his professional legacy, that it's wonderful that this building's going to be named after him, and I don't know if this building's going to get bigger someday or smaller someday. But this resolution has become part of the recorded history of the state of Oklahoma. And this does happen from time to time of persons who have worked for the state of Oklahoma in some capacity. They're recognized, but not many. And I think it's great for his children and his grandchildren who will always be able to go back and in the history books of the Oklahoma State Legislature see this document. This will always be here. And I think it's an extraordinary testament to his professional legacy that he enjoys the same respect for his abilities and the achievements that he made on behalf of the state of Oklahoma so many years after his retirement that he enjoyed on the day that he retired. And I think that's extraordinary and remarkable also. I think it's also a remarkable honor, if you will, that he is receiving, and well-deserved, because it is after he's retired. The legislature has a funny way of naming things after people when they're still working and they're still here and they can still accomplish things and influence things. Well, this, I think, is an amazing testament. This is years after he's retired, and these are words and thoughts, as I read them, of the people he worked with and the legacy he left for the state of Oklahoma with the corrections industries. Now I'm going to read the resolution. Whereas the Oklahoma Correctional Industries Building, located in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, is currently the administration facility for the correctional industries operation within the Department of Corrections. And whereas Max R. Newberry was designated the Director of Industrial Production on January 1 of 1976 to manage the correctional industries operation within the Department of Corrections, and he remained the administrator of the correctional industries operation until his retirement on February 1 of 2000 with the official designation of Administrator of Industrial Production of the Department of Corrections. And whereas Max R. Newberry dedicated his entire correctional career to the growth and development of the production of industrial goods, furniture, and other useful items made by inmates in the custody of the Department of Corrections, and he contributed his knowledge, skill, and expertise to making the correctional industries operation within the Department of Corrections a successful endeavor. And whereas, since Max R. Newberry's retirement as the Administrator of Industrial Production in February of 2000, the Department of Corrections has realized the extent and value of his long-term service to the correctional industries operation within the department. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and the House of the Representatives of the first session of the 51st Oklahoma Legislature. Section 1, the building located at 3402 Martin Luther King Avenue in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, previously known as the Oklahoma Correctional Industries Building, shall be renamed the Max Newberry Correctional Industrial Administration Building in honor of Max Newberry's dedication and contribution to the development of the correctional industries operation in Oklahoma. And the Secretary of State shall distribute copies of this joint resolution to Max Newberry and the Director of the Department of Corrections. And then, of course, it's signed by various officials within the legislature and the governor of the state of Oklahoma. And I think that sums up an extraordinary career and dedication for the people of Oklahoma, for the taxpayers, and a well-deserved honor. And with that, Mr. Newberry, I present you with the resolution, and I'd like to provide you an opportunity to say a few comments.
It's been okay. People came to hear Max today anyway, they would come to hear me. First of all, I want to say on behalf of the old CI people, Max, that we were as glad to hear about this as you were. And, we got a little inkling of what was going on, and wondered how long it was going to take for you to get the recognition that you deserve. And we feel like we're a small part of it, but thoroughly enjoying the fact that we're going to have your name on this sign.
Right.
When I think about Max, I knew I was going to be down the line. I knew I wasn't going to take any punches at him, because I can still remember the lectures he used to give me on a regular basis. And you can get by with it, the director and the ex-director, but I don't think I'll try it. Max was and still is a very unique person. I don't know, some of you in here don't know him real well, but a lot of us do. I told a guy about 2 months ago, riding down the highway, that Max Newberry could sit in Washington and talk to the president about foreign policy or whatever, or he could sit out in southwestern Oklahoma in the small community that he was raised in on a whittling bench and whittle with the farmers and talk about cattle prices, what it means and what the easy way is to grub mesquites out of that old dry, arid country that he was raised in. and Mac is unique. He influenced everybody that worked for him and with him, and as I thought about what I would say today, I just tried to think of a few words that fit Max Newberry. And probably we want to start with vision, because early on in his 24-year career, he took on an industry program that was very small, very few industries, not a whole lot of inmate workers. And he had a vision that he wanted to have the best industry program in the United States. And by golly, he got pretty close. Talking with people from other states just 2 months ago, you know, they talked about, you know, Oklahoma's got to be within the top 3 or 4 industry programs in the nation. And I agree with that. And because of Max's effort, his vision, his leadership, and the people that worked closely with him, he turned that small industry program into a multi-million-dollar business. He intended for the business to grow every year, and it did, with the exception of a couple of lean years. And Max, you'll be happy to know that we're going to set another record this year in invoice sales.
Right.
And we're proud of that, and you're still a part of that. We're still doing a lot of things just like we did when Max was here. Another thing that I would mention about Max is how professional he was, how respected he was, not only in our area, in Oklahoma, but in our region and nationally in the industry circles. Many people through the years have patterned and are selling the same products that we sell here in Oklahoma. We provided